But Ashley Tabling's problems didn't start until adolescence.
When I was a young child, I was a very cute kid. I don't mind telling you that. I was a very cute kid, and I went from being this beautiful child to being what I would consider almost like Quasimodo.
It all began when Ashley was 10 and her weight skyrocketed.
It was an absolute struggle for me to deal with the issues of gaining weight and looking different than everyone else, because at the age of 10, what does every girl want to do? Be like everyone else.
She was the overweight girl in school whom was made fun of, which, you know, was very sad.
Most girls go through a chubby stage, so that's exactly what we thought it was, you know, her chubby stage. She's just a little girl growing up, and there's nothing unusual. That's what I thought.
And then something completely bizarre happened.
I would wake up and my hair almost looked like a rat's nest. My hair went from being poker straight to being like a Brillo pad. And the more you would brush it, the more it would start looking like a Brillo pad. So there was absolutely nothing you could do. It wasn't curly, it wasn't straight, it was just frizz.
It always seemed to have really a mind of its own, not manageable.
We thought really nothing of it, just adolescence and her body changing.
But soon, Ashley began to experience other abnormalities.
A few months after my hair changed, I also started noticing skin tags around my neck. Again, it wasn't anything that we thought was unusual. It was just another one of those things coming of age. And my parents took me to a dermatologist. We got them removed, and that was the end of the story. Didn't have to deal with them anymore, so we thought.
Then, at age 12, Ashley was mortified to discover an even stranger development.
I'm now growing some hair on my chest. And I thought, you know, maybe it's just one of those things. Sometimes you get a stray hair here or there.
She started saying, "Mom, you know, look at this freak hair." And I get the plucker and I just pull it out. I say, "Now, forget about it." I said, you know, it's just a hair. But that wasn't the case.
Puberty is tough for every girl, but for Ashley, it became almost unbearable.
When I was 13 years old is when I first got my period. It was very painful. I would go a couple months without having a menstrual cycle. Then I would get the menstrual cycle. I would have severe cramping, severe bleeding. I never anticipated sitting there having to raise my hand in front of a teacher to say, I think I have to go to the nurse, there's a problem. Get up from my chair, and there just being a puddle of blood everywhere, everywhere.
Concerned with the severity of Ashley's menstrual symptoms, her mother scheduled an appointment with a gynecologist.
So at 13 years old, I was put on birth control pills with no further explanation as to why things were happening to me. Just, it's a hormonal thing, don't worry about it, stay on the birth control pills and you'll be fine. Something was strange. Something was definitely not right, and I even had the sense when I was much younger to know that something was not right.
Since the age of 10, Ashley Tabling has been suffering from strange symptoms that were wreaking havoc with her body and her self-esteem. Now a gynecologist has put her on birth control pills to manage her excruciating menstrual cycle. At first it seemed to work, and her other symptoms began to disappear.
We got rid of the skin tags, the hair started looking better, then everybody thought, hey, look, the doctors were right on the money, and it was a hormonal thing, and she's getting older. So, you know what? She's got a little bit of a weight problem, and we'll just have to deal with that. That's just one more hurdle to get over, and after we get over that, everything is going to be fine.
But it was far from fine. At 16, Ashley ballooned to almost 200 pounds.
She would get teased, and her feelings would get hurt. And, you know, that hurt me.
My father would say to me, you know, sometimes people have a hard time dealing with losing weight on their own, so I cut this out for you, an article about a weight loss camp, and maybe what you need is just a little help, a little bit of direction. So I took the opportunity that was handed to me, and I went to weight loss camp.
So to certain people, we're like, oh, she's away at drama camp. Because it's embarrassing. You don't want to tell people, yeah, I'm at the fat farm.
Embarrassing though it was, Ashley gave it a shot.
We would wake up every morning and they would have the meals made for us, and then we would go through aerobic workouts. You know, we would play all the same games that everyone played at camp, and you really didn't even notice that you were there to lose weight.
And it seemed to work.
Visiting day, I drove up with her parents and her sister and brother-in-law. She had muscle tone, she had lost weight, and with those things combined, she looked the best I had ever seen her.
I lost close to 60 pounds when I was at camp. I remember my parents coming up on Visitor's Day to visit me. They didn't even recognize me. I had to go, "Mom, it's me."
We picked her up. She was so gorgeous and so thin. After going there, being so heavy and so unhappy with herself and so depressed, and I see this bubbly, thin, beautiful girl. See, I'm crying. Every time I think of that story, I cry.
For a while, it looked like the healthy eating and exercise habits that Ashley learned at camp had done the trick. But Ashley soon realized the fight had only just begun.
When I came back from weight loss camp, it was a constant battle to keep the weight off.
Through her college years and into her 20s, Ashley's battle with her weight continued.
I would have points where I got extremely heavy, and then I would lose all the weight again. That, I think, was one of the strangest things of all, is that, you know, I would gain weight quickly, but then in the same turn, it would come off like water.
It was like, you know, up and down. It was like a Richter scale. It was crazy. We never knew for every 6 months what closet we were going to be taking clothes out of.
I may not have known that there was something seriously wrong with me, but I knew something wasn't right.
Ashley did her best to live a normal life. In 1996, she married John Tabling. 3 years later, they decided to take the next step.
My husband took me out to dinner, New Year's Eve, 1999. He said, I think it's time to have kids. I said, "What did you just say? You're kidding me, right?" After being on birth control pills for 17 years, I threw them away.
It was a decision that would prove devastating for Ashley.
After I stopped taking the birth control pills, I noticed I still didn't have a menstrual cycle. We've been actively trying to have kids, but nothing's happening. I took pregnancy tests, I'm not pregnant. Another month goes by, another 2 months goes by. Not only do I not have a menstrual cycle, but I had put on significant, and when I say significant, I'm not talking 20 pounds. I'm talking close to 100 pounds in weight within a 3-month period.
It was as if somebody had pumped her up with steroids. Incredible.
I started to notice hair on my chin. Having to deal with having a beard, that's really scary, really scary. After the hair appeared, I was then dealing with acne. I was having these breakouts that I could not control. And then after the acne, I started noticing I had skin tags again. And then I started getting dark patches on my arms, under my knees, even under my lip. It looked like I had bruises, and no matter how much I would sit there and scrub and scrub and scrub, it wouldn't come off.
It's just like everything hit at once with a vengeance. And at that point, Ashley and I both realized that, you know, this is it. Something has got to be done, and we have to find out what's wrong with you.
Desperate for answers, Ashley made an appointment with her physician.
You know, I said, I don't get it. I said, I went off the birth control pill, and then all of a sudden, all this stuff started happening to me. You know something? There's nothing wrong with you. It's your hormones. You had a problem before you went on the birth control pill. You just went off the birth control pill. It's everything evening itself out again. I had reached my breaking point. I was pissed.
Then in January 2000, just when Ashley had reached her wit's end, she found Dr. Mark Harwood.
When I walked in, I was a little taken back because he was very young, and I'm like, oh my goodness, fresh meat right out of school. Am I talking to the right person? Maybe I wanted somebody just a little bit older.
What I remember was the frustration that she experienced, and it sounded as if she had been through the mill, so to speak.
I said, you are going to think that I am a total nut, but I'm just going to tell you like it is, and then you can tell me to either go my merry way or that there's something wrong with me.
My usual lead-in question is just, tell me your story. And then she told me kind of what she had been through. I went to the back and looked at a textbook, and basically, you know, there could have been a picture of Ashley next to polycystic ovary syndrome. I basically photocopied it for her, brought it in, and said, this is what I think is going on. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll run some tests and we'll learn about this together.
In polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, excess insulin causes the ovaries to produce large amounts of the male hormone testosterone, which stimulates the growth of cysts in the ovaries and leads to weight gain, excessive body hair, and irregular periods. The exact cause is unknown, but doctors think it may be hereditary.
When I found out what was going on with me, it was bittersweet. I had a name to it. I knew that there was some sort of solution. You're faced with the fact that yes, you have a syndrome, and yes, there are some physical abnormalities as a result of this syndrome. Having to deal with them does a number on your head.
Though her physical ailments had caused her so much grief, the symptom she couldn't see was the most unbearable.
He said that a lot of women that have polycystic ovary syndrome have problems with infertility. And I think my heart dropped into my stomach when he said that. Because for as long as I can remember, the one thing that I wanted more than anything else in my life was to be a mother.
I really didn't know whether or not she was going to be able to have children.
My head was spinning. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. It was just a really crazy, difficult time.
Discovery Health.
For nearly 20 years, Ashley Tabling suffered from a strange, disfiguring condition that no one could diagnose. Finally, at age 30, she has discovered that she has polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. While the condition itself is not fatal, Ashley is devastated to learn it can cause infertility. Desperate for the chance to have her own children, Ashley tracks down Dr. Catherine Sharif, a specialist in PCOS.
Ashley was anxious. She wanted to be healthy. She wanted to be at a healthy weight. And she wanted to have children.
Dr. Sharif treated Ashley with an insulin sensitizer to help control her insulin levels and balance her hormones.
After 6 months of being on the insulin sensitizer, I started losing weight. I had a normal menstrual cycle. The acne completely went away. The skin patches started to become lighter and lighter and lighter. The skin tags, certainly I had to deal with the ones that I had, but I wasn't growing any more skin tags. The hair, I wasn't growing more hair, but I still had to deal with the hair that I had. I couldn't believe I was taking off weight left and right. I was amazed.
And what happened next was nothing less than a miracle.
April 4th of 2001, I had a daughter. I had a daughter, which, oh my God, just most incredible feeling in the world. I never thought that I was going to get there, and I had a baby. I had a baby. After everybody told me that I couldn't have a baby, I had a baby.
I thought it was, you know, like the greatest thing I had ever heard in my life.
I cried. I didn't say anything. I just cried. I got hysterical and I cried. And when the day she was born and I saw her, I got hysterical and I cried.
And just 1 year later, yet another miracle.
I remember I called my husband and I said, I hope you're sitting. And he's like, yeah, I'm sitting. What's going on? And I said, I'm pregnant again. And I literally heard the phone drop and heard him hit the floor.
I think that Jacob is the second miracle. The rest of Ashley's life is going to be one little miracle after another. Her future looks really good now.
The symptoms that I have definitely improved significantly, but they are always going to be with me, and there is always going to be a battle.
Though things are looking up for Ashley, it's still a day-to-day struggle, especially with her weight.
From now until the day I die, I will always have PCOS, and it'll always be my greatest battle.
I wouldn't say that polycystic ovary syndrome is a fatal disease, but I would say that it promotes the development of high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol, and those are the three big risk factors for heart disease. So in a way, it's like a bullet that's fired, but it doesn't hit you for 30 years.
But as long as Ashley stays on the medication, exercises, and eats healthy, that bullet may never hit.
Ashley is doing very well now. She's much healthier than when she first came to see me 3 years ago.
The symptoms of PCOS vary from person to person, which makes it tricky to diagnose. Without Ashley's determination, she might never have found an answer.
I absolutely say to every single person, if you think that there is something wrong with you, no matter how crazy you think you are and other people think you are, you're most likely right on track, and keep pushing until you get the answers that you need.